All right.
All right, Jim.
How you doing, Jake?
Thank you for coming in and doing this. I really appreciate it. How old are you, Jim?
67.
Years young, right?
There you go, baby.
Very cool. Okay, so I want you to think back to before you came in to see us. How long did you wait before making the decision?
Years. My wife kept saying I should come in, and because I was athletic growing up, kayaking, bicycling, everything else, I just figured the way I'm going to get better is just go out there and do stuff.
And it didn't work.
The problem is that when you get a knee replacement, I was always standing on the other knee, so that became the strong side. And so now I'm trying to, this knee gets locked, the interior becomes really tight, and then what happens is your golf swing will change, your walking will change, and now you can't turn, you don't have posture, and when you don't have those two things, now you're going to slash against the ball, and you're going to throw all your weight at ripping the club down from the top, typically casting, typically you don't have a turn. So the problem you got there is I cannot generate any effortless power because my body is not in the right position, my posture is not in the right position, and then what happens is you generate zero speed. And the best way to watch is go watch the LPGA, because these ladies basically sequence their swings correctly. They don't have tons of power, but then why do they hit it 260? So here we are, we're older. Okay, so get your core better so it functions, and then your knees and posture functions, your head position and shoulders in the right position. So then when I do a pre-shot routine, I'm getting myself into a position where athletically I can effortlessly turn, clubs in the right position, and then I rotate back, rotate down, and the ball goes straight and it goes a ton further.
Good.
The same thing relates to it's great for golf, but if I don't walk normal, if I don't sit, or I work on getting my posture right, my core better, my head position better, all of that relates to your other exercises, your golf game. And my father, I saw him go into a chair after he couldn't walk anymore, and he shuffled first, and then he said in his last years, he said, the only thing I can do that I enjoy is eating. And he just got larger, and he just got more arrested, and he would shuffle, and that was the end. So he had a couple of years and he passed. It's your choice. You can play golf, you can do many things, but what I learned here is core, body position, your muscles will function properly. If the muscles function properly, you can be like you're 50, 40 years old. I'll say right now that I'm swinging better with what you taught me than I've been swinging for 40 years. And my winning percentages, I always placed in the top 50% of the top 5 positions 50% of the time, and I've won 13 tournaments. But if I'd have had this years ago, the winning percentage would have been higher, the top 3 positions would have been higher, because it's the relaxed concentration, having everything in the right position, rotating, and then I don't. So the other thing that would happen with me is I kept getting injuries from swinging wrong. So I'd pull something in my forearm, but when I was in the right position, that didn't even hurt. So I was taping stuff up, I was doing other things so that I wouldn't rip my arm apart or my shoulder apart, or I'd get knots in my shoulder, because now I'm in a position where the only thing I can do is, this is not functioning. So, yeah, it's building blocks. Get these working right, get your core working right, your back's in the right position, your head's in a right position, now you have a chance to be an LPGA member or a senior, and you can hit a 250 no sweat.
Perfect. So let's talk a little bit more about how bad the golf game was before we started all of this. Because you mentioned you won 13 tournaments. Then we went through this phase where it kind of fell off a cliff and the game was not doing well. How bad was it?
I'd actually only won 10. I've won 3 out of my last 4 since I started this,
Okay.
and with a decent margin. So what occurred was, put it this way, you go from hitting 230 or something down to hitting, I'd hit a driver and a 4-iron or 4 hybrid same distance. So that means that's the only club that I can hit, and I'm like, something's going. And you always ascribe it to I'm just getting older. And then my accuracy went south, my distance kept getting shorter, and I ascribed it to, well, I'm old, and it's just going to get worse. So tell me how at 67 years old, 1 hip replacement, 2 knee replacements, how is it that I can work on core, posture, position, etc., gain 50 yards off the tee, so that's getting beyond where it was. Accuracy is effortless, because if I'm in the right position, I sequence the club straight through to the hole. Same with the drives. The last tournament that I won, I was at 80% of the fairways. Okay, and then I was like hitting down the greens, and then putting is the same thing. Posture, all this stuff. So my game had gone from good to really not good to now it's exceeding my younger years.
So now we're hitting the ball farther now than we were ever.
At 20% less power.
That's pretty significant.
And then how about just walking, where I couldn't walk? I used to go for 5-mile walks. So then I was going for a couple 100-yard walks. And the only thing, I could swim, but that's different. So here it is. You don't do this, you can't play well, you're not going to walk well, and you're real good at sitting. And you're really good at, having a glass of wine at the table, which leads to more, because it's like you sit there and you say, like my father, well, the only thing I got left I can do is, go out to dinner and sit. Well, you can still live and perform when you're older, but the key is, if you don't do this, you're going to start ripping up muscles, you're going to start straining things, you're going to get weak back, weak core, everything else, where there isn't a reason that you have to surrender all of this and quit and give up. So yes, this is great for golf, but it also relates to how do you want to, it's either get busy living or get busy dying. So you got to do it.
I love that one. Get busy living or get busy dying. It's almost as good as one of my favorites. Do you plan on dying in the next 12 months? If the answer is no, just do the work. Be better a year from now than you are today.
And, I've been here for how many months? 4 or 5 months. And I won my first tournament after that 5 weeks later, and then kept adding to it. So, and now I'm out driving guys that were always further than me, and they're like, you got a new driver or something? I'm like, no.
Same one.
Same one.
New body.
Exactly.
Okay, what would you say to anyone who is watching this video who is currently skeptical about physical therapy or just undecided about what we can do as far as golf performance goes?
You're going to miss everything. Muscle activation technique, basically, where we're getting our muscles to fire. My muscles in my butt weren't firing. My muscles in my right leg weren't firing. And then if you don't have that, So now I'm not walking right. Now I can't swing right, and it cascades. Everything falls down, and now you're back. Now you're into shuffling, sitting, and drinking booze and eating. So you got to do it. I mean, it's not that hard. It's really a matter of right positions, right posture. Once you're in those positions, your muscles will fire, and Jake and these guys will help you get this done. So, and now my wife is a great example. When I met her, she was not athletic, and then she'd run out and play tennis for an hour and a half, and she'd be dead for 2 years. She's in better physical shape than I've seen her in 15 years. So, and that's all because of what's happening here. You know, you'll go to the club and you'll exercise, but if you're exercising crunched over and you're not even exercising right and you're not walking right, you're on a path to falling apart.
Right. Cool.
Now, when you're young, you can still do this too. If you don't have all these building blocks, you could be 20 years old and look at how many people you see that are young that are hurting themselves. And I was one of those.
Yep. Working harder, not smarter.
Yeah, because the body is this machine, and if you have everything functioning properly with strength, you'll do great.
Good.
Otherwise, you'll get injured.
Right. Okay, last one. What was the number one thing you wanted to achieve by coming to see us, and did we help you to achieve it?
What I had noticed was that I'm getting older and this and that, and I thought I was this athlete and all I had to do was work out. But I didn't understand body mechanics, core, and all these things, and why I didn't understand why. I didn't understand because I didn't know about my muscles weren't firing right. I thought I was getting old. Okay, and this is just part of getting old. Well, it's not. I mean, if you can, and I laugh and I say it's, you're 10 COVID pounds. No, it was that I started not to want to do stuff because it hurt, and then I play golf and I get hurt. Now I'm playing golf with kinesio tape all over the place. Yeah, right. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with all these building blocks. Did this wildly improve my life in 2 ways. One, I can do all these things, but mentally, you're getting out of your depression and giving up. If you don't do this, I'll give you 5 years. You'll just fall in on yourself. Here's a challenge for you. Go out there, and we are in God's waiting room here in Naples. Watch how people walk. Watch how their shoulders are slumped over. Watch how their back is slumped. Watch how, and then you'll say like, well, wait a minute. And then once you go through this, you'll see it, and you'll go like, well, if they'd go see Jake, they'd have a better life, and they'd be a hell of a lot happier. I'm trying to get this 80-year-old friend of mine in here because she's shuffling, she's crunched over, her husband died, she's depressed. Guess what? How do you go for walks when you're shuffling? Why are you shuffling? You're afraid of dying. And falling. Well, you got to do this, and then you can be healthy again and fit again.
Great answer. Cool. I really appreciate your time, Jim. I really appreciate your story. I think there's a ton of people out there that can benefit from hearing this. And the take-home message is don't give up.
Get busy living, doing this, or get busy dying.
I love that.
And quit. That's from Shawshank Redemption. All right.
Thank you, sir.